hear a lot from the left about how awful and anti-science the right is. It's one of their biggest talking points. How dare right-wingers deny what scientists say about global warming? They're basically living in the dark ages. They're not enlightened at all. And you can go ahead and agree or disagree with that statement. But no matter your opinion, it is impossible to deny that the far left is being hypocritical when they accuse others of being anti-science. Because as of late, it is the left, not the right, that have a monopoly on anti-science ideology. For starters, biology. We are all different. Our minds are not blank slates. Our bodies are not all the same. We are not all the same. Our hair color, eye color, speed of reacting to things, how likely we are to get a unibrow, all these things are genetic and vary between every single person. And despite what we want to believe, genetics impacting humans does not stop at the neck. Our intelligence correlates with that of our parents. It is not all environment. And beyond our individual characteristics, we can also identify groups that we are a part of through our blood and genetics. According to your chromosomes, gender is not a social construct. And according to your DNA and other very obvious factors, race is not a social construct either. Yes, for the most part, we are super similar, and I really don't care if my friends have a slightly different genetic makeup than me, just like I don't care if they have different genitals. But it is just anti-science to deny that there are differences in our DNA that have fuzzy boundaries, but are definitely definable categories of attributes that can be defined as different races. Number 2, GMOs and golden rice. I won't lie, a lot of my very reasonable liberal friends are totally fine with GMOs. So when I talk about anti-science GMO left, I'm talking about Greenpeace hippies and Occupy type individuals. These types seem to be massively against GMOs. I just about see a protest every single day about it. The popular claims being that it's messing up our genetics, that GMOs are wiping out different animals and crops, and that they're going to give us cancer. No, they aren't. In most cases, GMO seeds are designed specifically so that they cannot create seeds and overtake current plants. They are also designed to have more health benefits, not less, in order to help with an ever-growing population. Yes, they can be misused and abused and need oversight, but in the majority of cases, they are a force for good, especially in the third world. One case that comes to mind is that of golden rice. Golden rice is a genetically engineered strain of rice that could reduce vitamin A deficiencies, causing blindness and death in children in the developing world. However, Greenpeace, the leftist environmentalist organization, is constantly lobbying and working to block the introduction of golden rice. This being despite the fact that over 100 Nobel laureates have signed a letter asking them to stop their opposition. But in their vehement anti-science position, they continue to deprive hundreds of thousands of people in need of nutrients because GMOs sound scary. Number 3, fat positivity. This one I can once again only attribute to the extreme progressives, but I'm seeing this become a more regular thing. Conferences about it are appearing on campuses near me, as well as fat positivity videos are popping up on my timeline from BuzzFeed and Upworthy. I'm all for being comfortable in your body, but the idea that we should promote fatness, or God forbid, suggest it's perfectly healthy, is insane. Glorifying people like Tess Holliday is like glorifying smoking. It's not healthy and can lead to a multitude of complications, including heart disease and stroke, high blood pressure, diabetes, gallbladder disease and gallstones, osteoarthritis, gout, breathing problems, and some cancers. Ultimately, some of these things can lead to death. Being healthy is pretty, being obese is not. You can't be both. Number 4, gender. Progressives have a very serious misunderstanding of gender. Gender is not subjective. It is not a social construct. You are born as a boy or a girl. Now, one of the arguments for the idea that there are more than 2 genders is progressives love to argue on the exception and talk about intersex people. And yes, in some very, very rare cases, there are intersex people. But intersex is a disorder, not a gender. It means you have traits of the 2 genders that exist, and typically these people decide to live as one or the other. The existence of this unfortunate disorder does not prove that you can be a demigirl, omnigender, anime gender, catkin, or gender fluid. There is no 3rd, 4th, 5th, or 700th gender. There are 2. It's also important to note that intersex people are almost never the people touting that they can be whichever gender they want. It's almost always attention-seeking college students who were quite clearly born as a male or a female. So now, even if we agree that there are only two genders, some people believe that you can just run around switching them whenever you want. In 99.9% of cases, that isn't a choice, and you were biologically born as quite distinctly one or the other. In some rare cases, there will be people that legitimately have gender dysphoria and a hormonal imbalance. They still will never biologically change from their original sex. But a lot of these people do end up living a life mentally portraying themselves as the opposite sex. This is not some fun choice, though. That is a very serious and difficult thing to suffer through. Don't force it on your kids. Don't glorify it as a choice that just anyone can randomly make one day, because it is not. Love and support people through their psychological and medical issues, but recognize that this is not the norm. Gender dysphoria is a disorder. Number 5, nuclear power. Jill Stein tweeted out one of the dumbest things I have ever seen in my life. No, Jill. Nuclear power plants are not weapons of mass destruction. They are one of the safest sources of power on the planet. Nuclear fuel is not nuclear weapon fuel. You cannot detonate a nuclear power plant. Yes, if your nuclear power plant is over 50 years old and is built in an earthquake zone, you're going to have some issues. And every single person working on these power plants today agrees with that. They also agree that, sure, nuclear waste can be a problem, but we have found a way to recycle 95% of it, and progress is continually being made. Soon we'll hopefully move on to a future in thorium power, which is a much better nuclear fuel and produces a lot less waste. But even before we've made a lot of this progress that we're going to make, France is already in the top 10 greenest countries on the planet because of their massive nuclear power use. They have no problems with it and an extremely small carbon footprint due to the safe, cheap, and effective energy. Nuclear power is excellent. It's the future of green energy, and all the evidence over the past 6 decades points toward it being a safe source of energy, and it is only getting safer. Yet the hysteria continues from the regressive left. This list could go on and on and on, but these are just a few of my favorites. Try to remember that both sides of the political spectrum need work, and it will never be just one side that is totally full of anti-science people, totally full of bigots, or totally full of morons. They are quite evenly dispersed. Also, always try to be skeptical of mainstream conclusions and common sense. There have been so many things peddled throughout history as scientific fact that were utter nonsense, and to think we wouldn't repeat that is to have an ego that is detrimental to our intelligence and self-reflection as a society. Thanks for watching. Don't miss my show Standoff by clicking here to become a member.